So, all right. So for Spider, um, the Spy, we had talked about this 678 74 area being a level for a retest after the Fed. It did come down a couple times last Friday and then on Monday. And, you know, today it opened just above and it actually closed right above it. And it also took out this lower gap. So this gap has now been filled. This was an area that I had mentioned that I was keeping an eye on to be filled for SPY to come down to. So now that that's filled, I do think that we start heading back up. I think the rest of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll probably creep back up to 684.15. And then on Friday, we do have a couple of notable events. We've got the quad witching, which is just a bunch of options expiring, and it creates a whole lot of volatility. Plus, overnight, we're likely going to be getting a decision from the Bank of Japan on if they're going to be hiking their interest rates. Everything that I'm reading indicates that very strong likelihood that we're going to see a 25 basis points hike from BOJ, and that would cause some additional volatility on top of the quad witching. So I think that there's a lot of volatility coming. Then you compound that with even low volatility next week because of Christmas, and then the following week because of New Year's. You start to get a situation where you know taking out this lower gap becomes more likely. And even if we do take out that lower gap before the end of the year, I'm not entirely concerned with that. I think it's going to be a great loading opportunity. I saw a statistic that said that since 1950, every single time that the Fed has cut interest rates within 2% of all-time highs, we've ended higher in the next 12 months 100% of the time. So whether or not we do take out that gap, I still think we go higher. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. Um, next year we'll probably see a lot of volatility because we have uncertainty around the midterm elections, which is pretty standard. But then, you know, the following year, once those midterms or elections are over, year three of a president's term is typically the most profitable when it comes to the stock market. There's not a lot of events going on. Midterms are over, kind of in that period where you're in between midterms and the presidential election cycle. So, year three is kind of the sweet spot. So I think any dips through the end of the year and any dips next year are worth loading up on. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I think we'll probably start making our way to 684.15. Maybe visit this higher end to 685, 60. But I think we are going to come back down because of the volatility and lack of volume in the next couple of weeks that we're going to see. Um, Next is IWM. All right. Yeah, so IWM came down to a level of support, um, and now it's kind of just getting pinned between the 8 EMA and the 21 EMA. I still think we're going to see a bounce. How high the bounce goes is to be determined. Um, but again, I think we're going to see a scenario where just the volatility from the quad witching and the BOJ decision, and the lack of volume next couple weeks, where we probably start to come back down. 237.56 probably not out of the question. I don't think we get to 230. I think that's probably a little bit too low. And plus, I just think this was a super strong bottom that this put in. Second highest traded day in the history of IWM, and the only other day that traded more volume was the bottom back in April, right here. This was the highest volume day with 123 million in volume shares traded, and then this one we had 99.5 million shares traded. So I don't think we're going to revisit those lows, but there's a few areas I could see us coming down to. So again, not too worried. Think there's plenty to be bullish about next year. Earnings have been super strong. EPS is at all-time highs in the SPY, and as long as those EPS keep coming, there's no reason to be worried with any dips we see in the market. So next is VIX. So VIX is kind of just chopping down here right now. I think we probably see a spike to about $18. We'll probably come back down. We'll see a spike to $18 on Friday, but I think it's going to continue to die down. I just don't think any rips on this are going to be sustainable. So I think it's fine right now. If it starts to look bullish again, I'll be posting about it. But right now, I think it's just we're in an area of decreased volatility. Next one I wanted to talk about, because it does play into the BOJ rate hike decision coming. All right, so we did break through resistance, but now we've kind of lost it. We're at another area of support, and it appears to be holding. The lows are still intact, which is good. That's something that you definitely want to see. The concern that I have right now with Bitcoin is every time the Bank of Japan has raised their interest rates, Bitcoin has seen a correction following that rate hike decision of 20% or more. Now, that would, from price today, that would put us in line with the 100-week EMA, which is right below this area of support that I have highlighted. So if we do get the rate hike from the BOJ, which I'm expecting, just be ready for some volatility to the downside. I think we could definitely revisit 67.9. But again, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'll buy it either way. I think there's a lot of macro tailwinds that are going to prop it up next year and in the coming years. So I'm not going to worry myself with a 20% dip. I'll just rather just keep buying at cheaper prices. So yeah, that's just something to keep out for on Bitcoin. So the other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the scans is I came across a tweet today that was talking about software stocks. So here's a chart, and the tweet said software stocks are now underperforming semiconductors by the largest margin in more than 23 years. And I think, look at this. It's literally the cheapest value. It's basically a chart of the iShares ETF for tech versus their software ETF, and it's trading at 0.3. And I think this was a good point that it reminded me of is I think software stocks generally are pretty undervalued right now. Let's just go through a couple real quick that I've mentioned a few times. SPT, Sprout Social. It is trading at its all-time lows. And it has increased revenue every single quarter. I mean, when you were buying it at the same price as it was in 2020 when they were doing 30 million in revenue, and now they're doing almost 120 million in revenue. So their revenue is almost 4x, and you're buying it for the same price. So I think a lot of software is undervalued. I could do the same thing with FRSH, Freshworks. This is another stock that's in my long term portfolio. And it is near rock bottom prices. And again, they've grown revenue every single quarter. So, I mean, it just, the entire sector is incredibly undervalued to me. There's uh, Grid Dynamics, GDYN. Um, this is another stock in my long term portfolio. And it's trading at rock bottom valuations. The earnings have been really good, 77, 101, 104. I mean, it's growing its revenue. And, this company, Grid Dynamics, they also recently announced a share buyback program. Um, so I think there's a lot of bullish things with Grid Dynamics, and, it's trading at rock bottom valuations. It's trading at the same price when, it had 80 million, and, back when it first IPO'd at 22 million, and now it's at 104. So this is 4x its revenue from when it launched, and now you're buying it for the same price. There was another one that I came across today, uh, Asana. This is a project management software, day to day tasks. Um, Again, I mean, it's the same story with all these stocks, just rock bottom valuation. I think this is another one that has grown their revenue every single quarter, 68.37, 76. Now they're at 201 million in revenue in a quarter. So just about 3 times the amount of revenue, and you're getting it for half the price from when it IPO'd. I mean, I think there's a lot of value in the software sector right now, and it's across the board. So I would spend some time and hunt for some undervalued plays in this sector because they're everywhere. I mean, I think Toast is another example. I mean, just this has had a little bit of a stronger chart, especially more recently. It's not at rock bottom valuations, but when they first IPO, they 486.3 million in revenue. They've more or less grown their revenue every quarter. I think there's a few quarters where they declined a little bit, but 1.63 billion. So again, another 3x revenue, and it's trading, you know, it's trading up 100% from the bottom, 150% from the bottom. So there's definitely more room to grow, and they've been growing revenues crazy. So it's just widespread throughout the entire sector. But all right, that covers everything I wanted to go through. So let's dive into my scanner. All right, so we've got 25 stocks today. So um, feel free to drop any comments. See if let me know if there's a stock you want me to go through. But let's get into it. So first one is MGNI Magnite Inc. All right. I don't love the setup, but every time it's broken the 50 SMA when it's been at the bottoms like this, it's starting to curl up. It's gone on a run. So I think that's interesting. I mean, you see it starting to curl up, it goes on a run. Comes back down, goes on a run. So I don't love the setup, but seems like every time it breaks it, it goes on a run. So, all right, we'll take a look at this. So you can see that we definitely broke out of a downtrend here. OBV is coming back up. Broke out of the downtrend on the OBV as well. Breaking through the 50 SMA. So I would, you get an entry right here. You could get a second entry right there at 14.30, and then your stop loss is going to be below 13 bucks. And then your take profit above is going to be 20.27, and then 25.92. Good areas for profit taking. Another area at $33. Then 40.62, 51.66, and then it's probably all-time highs. Yep, so that's going to be all your take profit levels. Yeah, I mean that's a decent setup. I think that even if it goes to its local highs over here, it's still a really good trade. You're getting 56% profit. It'll take some time, but I think that's a pretty good setup. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. Next on my list is Blue Owl Capital. This is actually a stock that I've held in my long-term portfolio recently. I do like this stock. It's basically a business development company. They give out money for people to, develop things, and they've been actually doing a lot with the AI infrastructure industry. So they've been giving out a lot of loans to AI infrastructure. So this is basically a bet on AI infrastructure. So I do like that. Personally, for me, if I was going to buy this, it would be a long-term hold. I wouldn't be trying to day trade this. But it does look like we're getting an inverse head and shoulders right here. And we are breaking out of a downtrend. OBV is interesting. It's got an inverse head and shoulders on the OBV. But yeah, I mean, I think Blue Owl is good. I'm not going to go through this chart just because I think this is a long-term hold and not a day trade. So, yeah, I think it looks great. I mean, it's in a good spot, and I mean, I'm bullish on it. I'm bullish on AI infrastructure. I think the chart looks good. So, next is RYCEY, Rolls Royce Holding Company. This has been on this list before. So we'd analyzed this previously. It looks like it's been trying to break out of this downtrend for a few days now. It's been rubbing right up against it. OBV continues to still be strong, even though it's had some red days in there. It's still chugging right along. So, yeah, Rolls Royce looks really good. It just has to break out of this downtrend. So, I'll keep an eye on this one tomorrow. Might take a trade on this, but we've got 14.94 would be your entry. Your second entry would be 13.81, and then your stop loss would be 13.25, and then you've got profit levels at 16.25, 18.78, 21.27. And that's all time high, 21.27. Plus, if you own this, you can tell people you own a Rolls Royce. So, Yeah, I think Rolls Royce looks good. I mean, so I will potentially take a trade on this tomorrow, but and I will post to my X account if I do. Next on the list is D Local Limited. Um, yeah, don't really love that setup. Let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah, I mean, it's starting to get a rounded bottom, which is nice. It's usually something you want to look for. I just don't love this chart. Is my only issue. Volumes kind of all over the place. I typically like my stocks to have at least a million in volume consistently, and it's not hitting that on a regular basis. So we'll go on to the next one, MNMD, MindMed. So this was another stock that I have analyzed recently. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I think your entry point would be at this point. You get it right here. If you wanted to do a second one, it would be at 1180, and then your stop loss would be just below this trend line right here, this diagonal trend line. And then your take profit levels would be 1443. You know, anywhere in this $18 to 22 range, you just basically look for weakness in the stock, um, and just take profit accordingly wherever the weakness is. 13, 15, 44, 10, 60, 60 are profit areas above plus 86.55. So that's MindMed. Um, Not a bad setup. Let's check the OBV. OBV's kind of been all over the place. It's trying to, it looks like it lost support, got back above it. So, yeah. Yeah, but that would be your entry. I mean, I probably isn't my favorite setup I've seen, so I probably wouldn't take it, but that's the setup I would go for if I was going to take it. So next is going to be DV Double Verify Holdings. I believe this was another one that was on my screener recently. Um, yeah, it's not great. I personally wouldn't do it. Yeah, I just if you wanted to force something, it would probably be this. Um, you know, ideally, I'd want to wait for the break of this trend line. Um, but yeah, I don't really like this. I'm like, why is my trading view tweaking out right now? So we'll go to the next one. SPT Sprout Social is another one. You know, we just talked about this one. This is in my long term portfolio. I still think the setup on this looks great. You know, you can add this as a long term hold, or you could, you know, do a short term trade. Personally, for me, this is a long term hold. So I will not be day trading this one. Um, but yeah, if you wanted to, your entry would be here. You know, stop loss below the lows. Second entry, you could get, you know, right at 998. Profit levels 1379. 1863. You know, 2250. 2581. And just so on and so forth on the way up. But yeah, this is a long term hold for me. I think it's got a lot of potential. They've been doing a lot of good things. I think the one thing that I would like for them to do is um, decrease their pay package to their upper management. They were having some, you know, profit margin issues. So what they ended up doing was they cut about $19 million worth of fat, and then they gave each individual board member like an extra $5 million pay package. So they made up 19 million, and then I think they ended up paying an extra 15 million to their board members. So that doesn't really make much sense. But fundamentally and financially, everything else is sound. It would just be nice if they would reduce their pay package to their board members. Um, Next is Cura Oncology. This one looks interesting. Do have a big gap to fill right here. Real big gap. It tapped the bottom of it. Now it's come back down. Let's see here. I mean, if you wanted to play this real tight, you could get your entry here, and then your stop loss would be below there. 1022. 200-day EMA is starting to come back up. And it's approaching the 100-week EMA as well. It did bounce. It had like a quadruple bottom. Now it's heading higher. Did lose this level of support, which is a little concerning. So I would actually wait for it to reclaim this diagonal support before I got into this. I'm not trying to buy things that are below support levels. So for me, I wouldn't buy it until it gets back above, and then you just have to watch very carefully. Looks like it's got the gap to fill is at 15, $16 almost. So from here, that's almost a 60% gain. So definitely some potential on it, but I don't like that it lost this diagonal level. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. ONDS, Ondas Holding. All right, so Ondas broke out. Now it's coming back down into support. It did lose a very long, not a very long, did lose a support area on the OBV. Let's actually redraw this, see if we get a better picture of this. Yeah, so it's coming back down into support on the OBV. I think the chart looks pretty strong, but ideally I'd like for this OBV to be broken. But yeah, I think it looks not bad. I'd almost wait for the rest of the week to play out though, just because it did lose this support level. So definitely keep an eye. If it broke through this OBV, I'd be a lot more eager to get in. But for now, I probably wouldn't buy. But I will definitely add this to my watch list and keep a real close eye on it. Next, we've got ACVA, ACV Auctions. Yeah, nothing I really like here. Just fill the gap. Now it's coming back down. So nothing I like there. Next, we'll go to Nokia. NOK. Yeah, not really a setup I like here either. So we will go to the next one. We've got ALDX, Aldera Therapeutics. Don't love the setup on this one either. So on to the next, EEX, Emerald Holding Inc. This one had a pretty good day today. 39.83%. Wow. It had itself a day. Wow. Check the news. Possible sale. Got it. Not. I mean, I'm not going to chase this. I don't think it's worth getting into. So on to the next. PGen, Precigen Inc. It's, not horrible. I think that's your support right there. It's coming off of support. If you wanted to get in on this, it would basically be just one entry right off the rip there, out below this trend line, and then you're taking profit. This is probably too tight of a profit to take. You'd shoot for the highs right there, $5. Um, so that's the area you'd want to target. If it loses this, it's probably coming back down to $2, to where this gap was created. On the OBV, yeah, it's breaking out on the OBV too. So this one's starting to look real good. I've had this one on my radar a couple of times, but the setup was just never there for me. But this is a much, much better setup. All right. Yeah, I might have to take a stab at this one. This one looks good. Profit areas above, $5. Already talked about that one. Next, you got 665. You got 850. 1110, and so on and so forth. But yeah, much better setup than the last time we went through this. We definitely have gone through this one before. It's at least been on my scanner. I may not have scanned it, but yeah, I think this one looks good. Next, I've got Load Constock Inc. All right. This one's kind of all over the place. Let's check out the weekly, see what the weekly looks like. Yeah, it's right at the lows. It had a stock split this year. I don't like those. 1 point volume revenue is just imploding. Wow, 54,000 when they were at 1.6 million. Holy moly! This one should be traded in OTCs. Holy crap! All right, we're gonna not go through that one. So next we've got CATX. All right, guys, we are getting towards the end. So if there's any stocks you want me to go through, just drop a comment. I'm more than happy to go through them at the end. So CATX. So actually on the weekly, yeah, that OBV is horrible. Let's check the daily. Daily still is not good. Let's just see something quick. Yeah. All right. I don't like this stock. So we will go to the next one. IOVA, Iovance Biotherapeutics. All right. So we've charted this one recently. It's below support. So for me, I wouldn't want to be in this one right now. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, no, not for me. OBV looks horrible. So we will go to the next one. BMEA, Biomea Fusion Incorporated. Again, just not great. I might need to look into this one though, simply because I know Trump, and I know Trump really wants to work on fusion technology. So I might get, I'll give this one a look and see if it's got anything cooking under the books that looks good. But right now there isn't really a setup that I love. So All right. Next one. And this is gonna be our last one. Everything else is under $1. So, um, let's see. Adagio Medical Holdings. I mean, this doesn't look horrible. This OBV is crazy. How much? I mean, volume is dead. Yeah. Yeah. It's only popping up on my screener because it did 1 mil in volume today, but it typically does not come even close to a mil in volume. It's typically only doing 50,000 in a day. So nothing on this one. I do have a little bit more time, so I'm gonna run through a few other stocks on another scanner that I have. So let's see here. Sila. And I'm going to do these ones quick because I typically am looking for certain things, and a lot of these ones don't have it. But Sila doesn't have it. Con. Nope. Con. Don't like to set up on that. LAB. One. Yeah, it's got enough volume. Let's just take a look at the weekly. Standard Bio Tools. Weekly doesn't look bad. Let me just do this. Okay. So let's see here. So yeah, so it broke out of that. Let's go back further. OBV is in an uptrend, so that's always good. I like to see that. Yeah, it's been testing that support. Looks like it's breaking out of highs right here on the OBV on the weekly. So that's good. Let's just take a look at some of these earnings reports. 25, 27, 25, 28, 45. Nice jump. 37, 45, 46, 40, 21. Yeah. No, never mind. Doesn't have enough substance. SI. Shoulder Innovations. No idea what this is. About 2,000. Shareholders have been buying more. Let's just bear with me for a second. I'm going to go to Seeking Alpha and see what I can find about this company because lots of insider buys. IPO is pretty recent. How much revenue is it doing? 11 million in revenue. Got 300 million market cap. Ugh. Yeah. Nope. Not enough here for me. Three 300 million market cap and only 20 million revenue over 6 months. So that valuation does not make sense to me. So MMS. Maximus Inc. Nope, not what I'm looking for. GDEN. No, not this one either. UTL. No, STXS. Yeah. So basically, what I'm looking for on these ones, I just want to make sure that it's got a million in volume. If it doesn't have a million in volume, I'm not touching it. So if I'm saying it's not what I'm looking for, that's the reason why. I don't really know anything about these companies other than that. So um, next is ALHC. Man, 2 mil. And I'm also looking. The other thing is I'm also looking for stocks that are just under $20. Ideally, is what I like. Easier to make money off of them when momentum's going right. Um, I mean, the setup isn't bad. I mean, OBV got absolutely obliterated on this downtrend right here. Um, I don't like that it's at all time highs. I think I'd prefer for it to get through, well, these local highs first. It's getting rejected off of it right now. Hasn't closed above them yet. So I'd keep an eye out for this break, or break of right there, 2106. But for now, I probably wouldn't touch it. Next, we've got Dawn's. Dawn was a stock that has been on this screener before. Yeah, it's OBVs all over the place. Probably not for me. ZWS. Nope, not what I'm looking for. Out. No. CTEV. LGND. Glue. Man, this one's been on a tear lately. But no, too high for me. I needed to come back down first. CIA. Citizens. Check the weekly chart. Yeah. Yeah, just not enough volume. GNE. Yep. Nope. HQY. Nope. BFLY. Okay, this is another stock that's been on my watch list for a while now, and it's been hot. So they're doing um, healthcare, and they're integrating AI. So definitely an intriguing stock. 21.9, especially when it comes to like the AI movement. Um, but no, I'd prefer a little bit of a pullback before getting into this one. I guess if I were to find an entry, it would be above this high right here, this local high. Yeah, it seems like a good area for support. And then I would just target 495. It's probably going to run into resistance at this 200, this 100 week EMA. But yeah, those are areas to keep an eye on for on this one. And then 669, 872. So I would either wait for it to break through here or come back down to the lows, and then I would start buying at the lows. Next is LPG. And I'm only going to run through two more that I chart. So, nope, not for me. FER. No. I mean, the LPG one didn't have a bad setup, but RZLV. 75 million shares traded today. Typically does 15. On pace for there's all AI gains. Revenue. I'll need to look into this one because those numbers that I was just reading are compelling, very compelling stories. I will research this one, and we'll revisit this one tomorrow. I will talk about this one tomorrow for sure. After I do my research. So let's go to PDM. Yeah, I like PDM. This one was on my screener the other day. I mean, I think it looks pretty solid. I mean, OBV is super strong. I think real estate's going to do well, especially with the lower interest rates, and it's starting to break out of the local highs. So I think this is a good setup, especially if it gets above these local highs right here. If you want to be a little bit more patient and wait for it to break, 906, you could wait for that too. But I think this is set up pretty nicely. And it's in a sector that I think is going to perform well. So that's a level to look for. I'll actually make this one a square. But yeah, I think this looks good, especially if it breaks those levels. So, all right. Then my entries. I would probably, yeah, that's going to be my stop loss right here at 785. You can get a second entry right at those lows right there, 814. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on this one. I will add an alert on this one. So, yeah, if anything happens with this one, I'll let you guys know. All right, so I've got time for one more, and then I will go through any stocks that people have commented, if there are any. This is LQDA. Liquidia. I mean, chart looks super strong, but not the setup I'm looking for. XRX. Xerox. This is a boomer company. Don't really know what to do anymore. Somehow doing $2 billion in revenue. Wow. I mean, they increased the revenue by 33% almost in a quarter. Yeah, they've been stuck at like 1.5 and then they just blew through it. Got a dividend coming up. Maybe. Definitely a possibility. I would prefer for it to break through this support, this resistance line right here. But I'll take a look at this as well and see what they've got cooking because it's not bad. I mean, if it breaks out, your second ad would be at 260, and then your stop loss would be at 234. Let's take a look at the weekly real quick. Yeah, it's just been in a nosedive. Just want to see what its revenue used to be way back here when it was worth something. Uh, 2018, oh, 2.75 billion. Well, they're basically back to where they were in 2018, 2019. Yeah, I'll see what they're doing. See if there's anything worthwhile. SWX. Nope. AORT. This one's been on a ripper, huh? UFPT. No. MH. McGraw Hill. No. CFBK. Not in a volume chart. Looks like a decent setup. Fat. No. SEM. Nope. SR. Nope. Good. Oh, AXL. I think this one looks. I mean, it's got plenty of volume. I think this one just needs to break out right here. I think if this breaks out, that becomes a buy. A little short-term worry for the 696, which is where the 100-week EMA is, and it also lines up with this pretty well. But yeah, I think this one looks good. I mean, look at this. This is a long downtrend right here. And it broke out of it. So, yeah, I think it looks good. Especially if it breaks these levels. I mean, my entries would be, uh, if you wanted to get an entry here and then average down right there, and then just, if it loses the support, that's when you get your exit. But the other one would be just wait for it to close above these levels and then take profit on the way up. So, yeah, Axel doesn't look horrible. OBV looks good. We just need to make sure it holds support. But yeah, I think it looks decent. But all right, I'll wait around for a second, see if anyone commented any stocks they want me to go through. But if not, we'll catch you tomorrow. All right, not seeing any comments, so thank you all for joining me. If there's any stock that I missed that you want me to go through, drop a comment, and I'd be more than happy to go through it tomorrow night. But until then, have a good night, everyone, and let's have a good day tomorrow. See ya.